Welcome to the Lakers Nightcap. Your host, Joe Soro. This is somewhat of a continuation from our post game from tonight's disaster. Um, I may have some guests with us tonight, but if not, I'm going to be honest. I'm not much of a drinker when I'm stressed. I prefer to get my frustrations out through verbal situations. But I do have my Hennessy, sponsored by the NBA, and I've got it on the rocks. So salute everyone. We're going to delve into a little bit more detail on what what the Lakers have kind of become here. It's gotten to the point where frustration, irritation, uh, depression have actually subsided. It's just not those things anymore. I think it's something that we have to come to grips with. That from a fandom point, obviously, this is not life or death. This is still entertainment at the end of the day, but it is a big part of our life. At least it is for me, and it's frustrating when you spend so much time uh, and that's probably where that I would say the anger comes from is you have all this time that you spend watching this, and you're sitting there going, "What the hell am I doing, wasting my time with in watching people who don't know what looks like they don't know what they're doing?" And there's this mental part of the game, and it's interesting. I was watching Julian Edelman, the former New England Patriots receiver, discussing compartmentalization when he would describe Tom Brady. And I had given you a little bit of a tease on the previous show about how there are great players, and then there's another level that I think we don't talk about enough. And I'm going to try to get into this and really make you all understand this because it's going to come off. Some may interpret this as a stretch, but it's not. It's not a stretch. It's a result from careers. It's a result from careers. And I look at some of the Hall of Fame players that I've watched or even heard about, like let's say Will Chamberlain, um, obviously currently LeBron James, the Kobe Bryants, the Michael Jordans. I look at I look at a lot of their careers and where some of the stuff that went wrong. So I'm gonna use Will Chamberlain to start this conversation, and then I can segue it into the current times. So you have arguably the greatest basketball player statistically that ever played, and he racked up 50 points a game and 20 rebounds a game, and uh, was in awe. It was in awe watching him do what he did. But I look at the mental part of Will Chamberlain's game, someone who couldn't hit free throws, someone who didn't win at Kansas with all that talent, someone who went 2-4 in a 14-year career in the finals. And then when you start delving into what happened during his career, you start to hear about a lot of the issues he had with coaches, and then there's certain things that would get to him. The whole, nobody cheers for Goliath. So when someone says something like that, they kind of tell you a little bit about who they are. And what Will Chamberlain said when he said that in my book is that it affected him. The noise affected him enough to where it was just enough to veer him off the path. Because to me, if you're telling me, and I didn't watch Will Chamberlain play, if you're telling me this is supposedly the greatest center of all time or greatest player of all time, Why did he come up lame so many times in big moments? I look at athletics, I look at sports in a win-loss situation. And there are instances where even those who lose can still show that they gave it all their all. Jerry West being one of those guys, Elgin Baylor being one of those guys, based off the information I've seen. Again, I didn't watch them play. I was not born yet, but based off their statistics and what their contemporaries said, and based off some of the footage that I have seen, those guys did put out all their effort. But Jerry West, as great as a player he is, as great as Elgin Baylor is, athletically and physically, were not in anywhere near Will Chamberlain in his prime. But you look at his career and you see something was off for him not to win more. Fast forward to Shaq. Shaq in 1995 was on a very, very young, good Orlando Magic team. And they went up 20 points against that Houston Rocket team in the finals. And then slowly the Rockets came back. And the Rockets were known in 94 and 95 as this resilient team. They were down 3-1 in consecutive years against Phoenix. They ended up coming back and winning in 7. Then you look at Orlando with Shaquille O'Neal, the next big great center, the most dominant player of all time. You look at that, let's say, first game, and Houston comes back from a 20-point lead. And then, of course, Nick Anderson has 4 chances to essentially win the game, to ice the game. He misses all 4. That sets the stage for the Orlando Magic to basically fold after that, and then they end up getting swept. So what does that mean? What does that mean? Where am I getting at this? I'm getting at maybe our interpretation of who's really an all-time great is off. I think we base it off stats. We base it off if it's in my era, if it's a player that I watch more now versus before. Shaq no longer could be the greatest based off that performance. Is that fair? No, it's not fair, but it's what it is. You look at Michael Jordan around that same time. When did he fail in the biggest stage? Never. Shaq failed. Will failed. Kobe failed. LeBron failed. And bringing it back to what we're talking about from, let's say, tonight's game and this season in general. And I know it's going to be unfair. It's LeBron is in his 21st season. If he had retired 4 years ago, we're probably not even talking about these things, right? But he is the one that said he felt he's the greatest of all time based off of the 2016 finals. I didn't say it. I've never said it. He said it, and there's a lot of people in this era that say it. In the end, it's not true in my book, because if you're truly the greatest and you can still play and you have a viable team, I don't believe what's going on with the team right now would be going on. And that's just kind of how I feel about it. Missed layups, lack of leadership, not being able to uplift your team. I mean, again, if you're the greatest, that's something you can do. At least that's how I look at it. With that, I could go into more detail, but again, I don't want to veer off kind of what this show is supposed to be. The show is supposed to be kind of like a finishing off discussion of what events have happened today. Something where we can sit back, relax, maybe answer some questions, have a few drinks, and maybe go into your slumber with some kind of like reassurance, some kind of feel good thing. And I got to be honest, I don't know if that's going to happen tonight, but I'm going to try to I'm going to try to answer some questions too. I mean, I think it's important when you're doing a show and you've got an audience that's kind of in the same boat you are. You guys are going to want some questions answered, and I want to be here for that. JY, that is a good observation. This team cannot be trusted, and for some of us, even after the last two games, the trust was not there. I think what's frustrating about tonight, more than anything, is that you're watching that game and your instincts are saying something the entire time. It was saying it all first quarter, at least for me. Why are you doing what you're doing? You're playing with fire. You are playing with fire. Stop doing it. And guess what? They weren't. And your opponent kept coming, and they kept coming, and they kept coming, and they didn't learn the lesson. You remember this? You remember Rocky 2? If you've seen Rocky 2, you remember when Apollo Creed's corner kept telling him, stop trying to knock him out. Stop trying to knock him out. You've won this match. You've won this fight. Get it to the 15th round and let it go. Win the fight. Don't try to knock him out. What does Apollo Creed try to do? Tries to knock him out. The ego took over and he got knocked out and lost. It's the same concept. Stubbornness. Folks, stubbornness is a virtue only if you're right. But if you're wrong, it can end marriages. It can lose games. You can lose friendships. You can lose your job. It's a really, really bad disease, stubbornness, especially if you're wrong. And we're seeing a coach right now that's doing one of two things. You can say he's stubborn, which there is, because head coaches, especially in the NBA, have a tendency to do that. He is stubborn, but more than anything is he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know how to communicate correctly. He doesn't know how to adjust correctly. He doesn't have the pulse of anything on this team. And it's a reality that the organization needs to understand. It is by far and away the worst coaching decision in terms of hiring I've seen. We've had worse coaches, Luke Walton, Byron Scott, from a results standpoint. But those two coaches were put in a predicament that in a lot of ways was not fair. They were given spoons when they needed to eat steak, and they had no shot. There was no talent on those teams. With this team, not only did you hire an inferior coach than the one you had before, but you treated that coach who actually won you a championship worse than you're treating this guy. I want to know why. I want to know why. What does Darvin Ham have on you that he is treated differently than the previous leader who actually gave you the results? This is the confusion I have. Where is that logic? What is it? You can't tell me it's some kind of nepotism. I mean, come on. Darvin Ham was an assistant for what, a couple of years. Is he really a Laker? I don't never considered him a Laker. So what is it? Is it about the money? Why would you give this guy a 5-year deal, but you didn't give the other guy a 5-year deal? None of this makes sense. Like, what was their reasoning? What did he tell them in the interview that meant, oh man, this is our guy. This guy knows exactly what he's talking about. I don't know. If somebody has an answer to that, I'd love to hear it. I'm already starting to feel a little buzz, by the way. I think it's because I haven't eaten since like 3 o'clock today. But the drink does taste good. And again, I'm not saying that Frank Vogel is this, Wizard of Westwood or Wizard of Crypto. No, I'm not. But at least Frank Vogel kept things simple. He knew where his specialty was, and at the time when the Lakers were at their highest capabilities, he put the ball in LeBron's hands and let him control the offense. That was a decision the coach made. And it just so happened that LeBron won the assist title that year. I don't know if LeBron has enough energy to do that now. Probably not. But I'm still going to give credit to Frank Vogel at that time for making that decision. He understood, look, I'll take care of the defense. LeBron, you have this amazing talent to be able to, conduct the symphony for your team. Go ahead and do that. And then we'll have AD do his side. And then we'll, make sure that the surrounding talent that have defensive capabilities, they do what they need to do. And all we need you guys to do is make a couple shots here and there, and this team is going to flourish. And it did. It did. It was I think the frustration is I can't front. I was supportive of the Westbrook trade initially because I did sort of panic too with Harden going to Brooklyn. And I wanted to see if I kind of felt because for the first, I've never seen LeBron not be able to play with anybody. So that's where a lot of that positiveness came from. I I had never seen LeBron not be able to play with anybody. It happened for the first time with Westbrook. And I also thought Westbrook wasn't a one, Westbrook wasn't even a two, but maybe he might be a good three. But we were wrong. I was wrong. But Rob and the company and that leadership should have known that. That's their job. I'm just some guy sitting in a studio doing some show. I'm not in the locker room. I'm not in the practices. I'm not sitting in the boardrooms. I'm not there with the draft during the draft to assess talent. All I can do is kind of sit back and observe what I'm watching, and that's it. So, so it is. How you doing, Sean? Thanks for coming. I was explaining a little bit of the kind of like the mental part of some of the great players in the past, guys like Will Chamberlain, Shaq, Jordan, Kobe. It's a discussion better spoken to with maybe someone like you because you know the history of it. I went into it a little bit, and then I didn't want to go into too much detail. Otherwise, I kind of veer off kind of uh, the current setup now with what happened tonight. But I did have to explain to the audience the differences between decision making from 4 years ago versus now. Like I can't understand why they treated the previous leadership so disrespectfully, yet this particular leadership is so terribly executed, yet there's so much support for it. I don't understand it.
Got me, brother. I'm with you. It's it's unfathomably stupid what's going on. Like honestly, it's like the only word I could think of is incomprehensible. Given the nature of where we are and the circumstances surrounding it. And I heard what you had to say, and you're 100% right. I can't really add anything to it, brother. It's a soft. You know what it is, Joe? Uh, soft brains, soft brains, man. A hard head makes a soft ass. That's an old school street saying. Basically, if you're hard headed, you can kind of like you were saying, any tidbit of adversity, they quit. They quit. They just that brain becomes really soft. And like you were saying, man, Kobe Bean Bryant, Michael Jordan, they had mud for brains. Like it didn't matter. They were willing to get dirty. Yeah, I'm sick. I'm 5 for 25. I'm gonna make the next shot. That was Kobe's philosophy. I may have been 5 for 25 the whole game, but there's 4 seconds left. I'm gonna be 6 of 26, and we're gonna win the game. And that element of fierceness is gone. It's poof, like into thin air.
And again, it's an important topic to discuss because we see and we hear the term great thrown around so much, and we've seen a lot of decisions made in like Hall of Fame inductions on who's great and who deserves to be there. I always hear that word. He deserves a title. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Folks, no one deserves squat. You earn it. And our definition of great is skewed. It's skewed. Our definition of who knows the game or who knows how to do certain things is skewed. So some of this stuff I'm going to say is going to hurt a little, and I want everyone to understand that it's important that you understand the point here. Okay, I want you guys to listen to me. Why does LeBron? Because part of that issue with the first quarter that everyone was jumping and doing jumping jacks for, if you watch certain instances in that game or in that quarter, you see LeBron make ill-advised shot attempts during that time. Why? Why is arguably the greatest player of all time in his 21st season someone who has been dubbed some kind of a genius of basketball? Why does he make those decisions? I want to know why. That's smart and intelligent. You cannot tell me something is smart and intelligent, and then I look and then it's not. I want to know what your thought process is. Why? Why do you think he's smart when he's not making a smart play? That is not a forced play. That is a lazy play. Why do you keep doing it? It sets a precedent. And then when they see, and then later when you're tired, which is probably why he misses these layups, why are you not smart enough to understand that you're probably going to struggle more doing that? Oh, I know why. Because your team has quit playing and now you have no choice but to go and be LeBron. But it doesn't work. How often have we seen this year where the Lakers were down 12 and they come back? I don't remember. They don't come back anymore. They quit. They're tired. They're old. Whatever. That's who they are. They are quitters. They sulk. They don't want to deal with the pressure. And then on top of that, we have a leader on the bench that looks like he doesn't really want to coach. He doesn't really want to coach. He doesn't want to call a timeout when he's noticing that these bad decisions are being made, and maybe because he doesn't want to upset the star. Look, if a head coach is worried about the star costing him his job, that guy has no business ever being a head coach. Ever. Ever. And what are you worried about? You already have a contract. If they fire you, you're still getting paid. What are you worried about? If you're scared of your star player not listening to you, especially when you're supposed to be a title contender, you should not be a head coach in that league. You should not ever be a head coach. A head coach has to have the respect and has to demand the respect back from his star players. If the star player doesn't give him the respect, it's already stained. It's already stained, and you're probably not going to make anything work. And that's where that is. So looking at, let's see here. The record book's making an argument, but I agree that Jordan is the best. Okay, so what made Jordan great is the same thing that made Tom Brady great, right? Their ability to never fail when it mattered. Now, some will say, well, Tom Brady lost 3 Super Bowls. Did you watch those 3 Super Bowls? Tom Brady lost 3 Super Bowls on the bench. And in 2 of those Super Bowls, I believe he had the lead. So, now what about the other 7? You know the results to that. Those
Yeah.
guys that are at a different level, folks. As much as I love Kobe, and I've said this several times, as much as I love Kobe, Kobe had 2 duds in his career. It might not be fair. It might be unsettling. It doesn't matter. The results dictate greatness. So you look at Michael. Well, Michael only won 6 out of the 15 in his career. That's not the point. Point is, when he was at his highest level, he was winning at the highest level. Kobe, his career is different if he wins in 04 and he wins in 08. And by the way, he was favorite in both of those finals. If he wins those 2 series, Kobe is sitting at 7-0 in the finals. He's sitting next to Jordan. There's an argument there, 100% on who's number 1, based off those results. LeBron maybe got a little bit kind of the short end of the stick, but you also have to factor in that LeBron played in one of the worst conferences in any era in NBA for about 10 years. The competition was just not good, folks. It wasn't. I'm sorry, it's the truth. If he was in the West between 2011 and 2018, he would not have gone to the finals 8 straight years. He would not. So we're at a position now in 2024 on January 19th. We're in a position now where we're going to have to understand that this team is worse than mortal. They're actually dying. They're a dying team. And we're going to have to watch this team officially die likely in about 2 to 3 months. This 6-game road trip is going to be, in my book, the defining part of the season on where this team's going to go. It's going to be 6 straight games on the road. If they come back 1-5, they're probably not going to make the playoffs. And if they do, it's going to be that 10th seed. God help us all. God help us all. Now, I have a question for you, Sean. What is Rob Pelinka thinking right now? Really? He's sitting somewhere right now going, what the hell am I going to do? And what do you think is going through his head right now?
That we're in mud and I don't have the nutrients to turn this into a lotus flower like it did last year. Because we're stuck in mud. And there's no getting out of it, Joe. And like you said, that 1-5 road trip, that mud turns into quicksand. Because that's what it feels like Rob's in. Quicksand.
Let me see. Sean is saying something. Sean Harder. I don't care, Darren. LeBron is the most polarizing athlete in history. People like you have an unnatural hate for him. I despise LeBron's politics, but I'm a lifelong Lakers fan, so I'm his fan. Okay, Sean, I'm glad you said what you said because I was trying to convey something with LeBron. I'm not the politics of certain people can get in the way of certain things, but I purposely stopped letting that get in my thoughts because I feel like it's a manipulation. I feel like I start including myself into that crowd where they don't want to they turn into just a bunch of cackles. I don't want to do that. Okay. LeBron's politics might not be the same direction as mine, but it makes no difference to me. It doesn't really affect anything either or. Okay. He's not a communist. He's not a Nazi. He says, man, he's still in America at the end of the day. It's fine. But the polarizing part with LeBron from a basketball standpoint, where I kind of chuckle, is what I just said, is there's this fallacy that he is this basketball genius, when in fact it has nothing to do with his genius. He is just a genetic freak who's got very good work ethic and has ligaments that are made of steel. Hey, Karl Malone had it. Robert Parrish had it. John Stockton had it. This isn't the first time we've seen somebody play 20, 21 years before. It's just we haven't seen this good a result, right? Somebody averaging 24, 7 and 7. Fair enough. He's surpassed those players based off the statistics. But there are some people that are just made differently. Hell, Ray Lewis played 20 years as a middle linebacker. I look at him walk around. He looks like he's fine. He might not be, but I've seen people play much less who look like they can't move. Ray Lewis he's still bicycling and doing all that. Some people are just, there's a saying in my language, it's hard to say it now, but I'll translate it. They're made of wood. They're made of like metal. Some people are just made different. They can run all day and they don't get tired, you know? But when you take away those things, it's still not enough. There's a mental aspect that takes, in my view, the athlete into a different stratosphere. I will stand by 100% that LeBron James is a 4-time NBA champ because his talent was one of very few people. But I will not say he is the smartest player I've ever seen. He's not, even though that's the discussion. I'm not saying he's dumb either, but there's things that LeBron James has done for a very long time in his career that have made me scratch my head. Decision making. We haven't been talking about this a lot lately because they've been getting their butts whooped, but how long has LeBron made the right pass, the right play, and all his sycophants supporting them? Folks, there's no such thing as the right play if the ball doesn't go in the basket. And if you watch tonight's game, the right play was LeBron to get to the basket, right? But there was one problem. The ball didn't go in the basket. Now what? The object of the game is to win. It's to win. And if you're not going to get the ball in the basket at a time that you need it, then you're not making the correct play. That's life. It's a results business. So add the fact that you're not doing the basics, the stuff that you can actually control. Then you factor in your emotion, you factor in your enthusiasm, you factor in your confidence, and then it all kind of just permeates all the way around you. And that's what's going on. You have a leaderless head coach. You have star players on this team that cannot seem to mentally lead their team. And this is the result. A 21-22 team, 43 games into the season. 2 of your players are going to start the All-Star game. and this is the result. So I want you all to understand where we're at. This is who they are. Maybe they're not as great as you say they are. Still great, but not as great as you say they are. So we're going to get something out of this, Sean. Maybe this is our chance to really redefine what a great athlete is. What is the great athlete? Mental, physical. What does that mean? Because it's
So
been there. It's always been there. It's always been in my head. Like what? Nothing. It never really clicked why certain things are said about certain players. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm watching the game. I'm like, why do they keep saying this guy is this when I don't see it all the time? And that to me is what this is all about. A lot of these a lot of these terrible results this year is because of that. It's because we're told that these guys are something because they've got all-star games and they've got titles from I don't care about the 2020 title. I don't care about 16, 12, and 13. I don't care. I care about 2024. What did Tom Brady say his favorite championship was? The next one. I don't know when we're going to get their next one.
So Joe, you and your father, diehard Steelers fans. Okay. Now, the three symbols, the yellow, blue, and red, all represent the ingredients to make steel.
Mhm.
Do you know what they are, sir?
I do not.
Okay. So you have iron, you have carbon, and you have basically just like alloys of different material, right? So carbon is the most abundant element in our universe. The fourth is iron. Combine those two with those alloys and you make steel.
Mhm.
And when most people think of steel, Joe, they think steel is cold. Steel is harsh. That's the mindset it takes to overcome adversity. That's why the term steel or steely, steel-eyed, steel-willed. That's the whole point. Steel is strong. My father was a mason for 35 years, and I used to work at the a steel company called DeFasco for 2 summers, and you learn the strength of steel pretty quickly, and it's no BS. It's no BS. It takes a steel will, a steel mind to overcome adversity. Life is difficult. You've said this over and over again. I'm experiencing part of that right now. But you have to overcome it. You can't quit. You can't have a soft brain. Because the second you have a soft brain, somebody is going to take advantage of it. And you said that before, too.
So another thing that I saw today, Julian Edelman was describing Tom Brady's compartmentalizing skills or Jedi mind trick. His mother was sick. I believe might have been this Super Bowl against the Rams around that time. And he was explaining how even through that tragedy and fear, he still was able to focus on the task at hand. And it's hard to use sports and entertainment as this kind of outwardly amazing thing. It's still entertainment. It's a football game. It's not the military. It's not you're saving people's lives, right? But we are there is some traits there that are similar. There is some kind of pressure there. It's not life or death, but it's pressure. It's a life and death situation that you're dealing with, and then you're still able to stay strong. So you still can draw something from that because it is real life when it comes to that. And while we would understand if he had a bad game due to the situation, we wouldn't hold a grudge against him. We would support him. But when you can still do what needs to be done in those instances, there's a whole different respect. There's a whole different respect there. And we live in a world where excuses are heavy. More and more entitlement is being built because society has made life so easy and people don't even realize it. 100 years ago, like in the 1900s, they did a poll and asked people, like, what are your fears for the future? It's food, it's being able to find a job, things like that, right? Survival. You look at some of the adaptations of the filming at that time, black and white to color, and you look at the people around the early 20th century, and you see everyone is like this, skinny, right? Now, what's also interesting at that time is they all looked like they were like 5'6", like 5'5", 5'6". They're all tiny people.
Mm-hmm.
So all that GMO that they put in the food, I think for some of us, we got lucky. We became behemoths. We became mammoths. At least I think I did. I'm 6'3", 280 pounds. Like I didn't see anyone in those videos that was anywhere near 6 feet. You could tell because they were next to kids, and a lot of them were just like maybe a half a foot, away from their kids. So you look at back then, and people worried about, oh, we need food, we need jobs, and then now you fast forward to now. What are the things people want now? They want to be popular. They want to be rich. You have a massive obesity issue where every time you go outside, for every 10 people, 8 of them are obese. I'm talking about middle-aged women being very unhealthy, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see, the divorce rates where they are, and you see all this negativity on things, right? And anytime they see a positive, it's like some kind of badge of honor. Oh, he takes care of his family. And then she works hard and comes home and takes care of the kids. Okay, folks, no one told you to go get married and have kids. Why do you need a badge of honor for that? Just saying. Like, I think we have become a society of make believe, beyond make believe. Mythology was always there, the Iliad, Achilles, Hector, like that stuff's out there. It's been there for 5,000 years. We've exaggerated the heroes and the great people in the past. Obviously, it's a little harder now because we have video and we can save that stuff and know if it's real or not. But people are still living in this fake world. You look at 90% of the females online, how many of them use a filter? And I'm sitting there like, lady, you're not a bad looking person. Why are you using a filter? We want fake. We want to believe in BS. We want to believe that the Lakers are going to win. We want to believe that LeBron is the best that ever played. but the reality and the results don't prove it. So now, what do you do when you have a show that's on every day? What the hell are you going to talk about every day when everything is always the same, which is the Lakers sucking every game in some way? Now we got to start getting creative. We got to start having drinks at 11 o'clock at night on the West Coast. All you East Coasters are sitting up late at night listening.
Well, no.
What's next? The good thing is,
I've missed this. I have missed this.
well, it's a good thing. It's a little easier, obviously, because it is sports, and each game can dictate a story.
Well, I actually wanted to backtrack on something you said because I heard you say something previously that was really funny and it ties into what we're talking about now. So we're talking about height. So 150 years ago, the average height of a man was like Joe was saying, like 5'2", 5'3". When man started hunting, like saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths and, meat Joe, that's when man started to get taller because he started to eat protein. And when you stop eating salads for the rest of your life, you get healthier. And this man said that a while ago, and I remembered something about that. And I did some research. I'm like, God damn, Joe was onto something. It's like, yeah, you eat meat, you eat eggs, milk. I mean, Joe, you talked about you consume milk probably more so than like just about every other human being on the planet.
I know not everyone has the
So
same.
you don't make friends with salad and you don't get taller being a vegetarian.
It goes back to, again, as I've gotten older, I've really keened on. I'm really like keyed in on what is being told to me versus what actually happens. What actually happens is usually exclusive to what I've been told. I'm going to tell you a story, and I think I might have told you this story on the phone, but our crew here hasn't heard this. So, intermediate fasting has become the craze now, right? Which is actually not a craze in my book. It's actually a very formidable lifestyle because if you do the science, your liver, your body, imagine something that's constantly working, right? And then you have this solution where one of those important machines can actually not have to work all the time. What happens? It rejuvenates. It get just like when you sleep. Just think of imagining your liver, right? When you're intermediate fasting, your liver is what gets the best benefit. It doesn't have to filter all that trash you keep eating, right? Over and over again. It actually rests for 12 hours, 18 hours, however your fast is. So just like when you sleep, your body is now relaxed. It's sleeping. But I remember years ago, at that time, I was told, Joe, you have to keep your metabolism going. You have to eat every 4 hours. Keep the metabolism going. Keep the metabolism going. That's what I was taught. Metabolism, metabolism, metabolism. Now, there were times where I could not eat in the morning when I got up, right? I had eaten the night before, like at 8. So now I ate, I'm done at like 8:15, and I don't have anything to eat. I sleep at 10, 10:30, whatever it was. And then I wake up in the next morning, let's say around 7. Okay. Now I wake up, I'm showering, I'm doing whatever, but I got to get to work by 8. Now I'm on a 12-hour fast that I didn't know I was fasting, right? But I didn't have enough time to eat. I eat at like noon, which is now 16 hours. Not on purpose. It just, that's how the morning worked out. And I remember at that time, I remember vividly, my body felt amazing, but I was like, damn, I gotta eat. This was way too long between meals. And I ate instead of listening to my body. My body at that time was like, dude. And I remember I was like, man, I feel really good right now. Feel like tight, everything's like, right? But at that time, we were told you have to eat. Your metabolism is going to slow down now. And that's how my mind worked. So it's just, I'm 45 years old. I'm going to be 46 here in a few months. And it's this stuff that's going on with the Lakers. It is starting to really, really hit home on how much absolute bull crap we keep getting fed about our team, the NBA, and all this garbage. It's like we have all the ability to get all the relevant information that you could possibly find with the internet and everything. Yet we have almost backtracked in the reality of things because we want to feel good. Screw feeling good. The only thing that's going to make me feel good is if these guys grow a brain and start playing well. If they're not going to play well, I'm not going to manifest this fantasy that I'm going to think positive because they've given me no reason to think positive. Is that you, EJ? Did you want to drink what I drink?
That's the whole point. And I refuse to call
Tennessee, AJ.
I refuse to call them shit for brains because shit actually has worth. There's money in that stuff.
I actually, that's a great point. The word, manure.
No, say it.
Fertilizer has immense value. It's immense value in life. And our current head coach is way in over his head.
Puke, bile, that has no worth. That's just toxic sludge in your body. That's what's going through his brain.
It is. He doesn't have the guts like a Rudy Tomjanovich to quit. See, Rudy Tomjanovich in 05 got in over his head.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, dude, this is not gonna work.
This pressure cooker ain't for me. Yeah, no, you're right, Joe.
No. And some can look at that as being a quitter. They're again going back to this everything is black and white. A lot of times that's not the case. Okay. This was someone who took a job that he shouldn't have taken and finally realized I can't do this. I'm doing a disservice to the team. It's no different than a player who's injured who says, look, I got to take myself out because I'm hurting the team. That doesn't mean he's quitting. Okay. Darvin Ham won't quit because I think he wants his money, which is why I'm asking, what is Rob thinking at this point, sitting wherever he's sitting right now? Because if I'd like to think Rob has some intelligence, he's got to be sitting there going, what the hell am I going to replace this guy with? And my answer to you, Rob, is there isn't. But you can at least rip the Band-Aid off and just let that thing scar up. Just let Phil Handy finish the season. At least now you won't have to deal with the issue with the head coach. No one's going to go jump on Phil Handy's back and blame him for anything. This season is done. Your team is barbecue. So maybe a little bit of a jolt might give us something here until the end of the year. Otherwise, I don't understand what the point of continuing to have someone who doesn't know what they're doing to do what they're doing.
Oh, because I mean, right now, like you said, the machines have been turned on, and you're getting the frozen chickens out, and we're about to go in the rotisserie, Joe.
So, Jeff, what do you were at the game tonight, sitting next to Rob?
Hmm.
I didn't
Well,
know that.
the fact of the matter is that Joseph makes a really good point about Palinka kind of sitting there wondering what his next move is, and unfortunately, I think he's just constrained by ownership as well, Joe. That's kind of another offshoot of this. When um when Chris Mim was traded, the Lakers were looking to save money. That was neither a headwind nor a white flag maneuver. It was, yeah, we're trying to save money, and it is what it is. I'm almost thinking that's what's going to happen this year as well. Maybe a couple of minor moves. Who knows? They might just stand pat. I don't think so. But a couple of minor moves. Trade Cam. They'll trade somebody else. Try and get below that apron and probably call it a year. That's
I'm so
almost what I anticipate happening.
Jeff. I'm not. What does that even mean? Of course, he's not going to be happy. The question is, what is he going to do about it, and can he do anything about it? So the question actually is, what does LeBron and AD do at the end of the year? We don't talk about that enough. Let's say they don't make the playoffs. What happens then? You think
My
they're gonna run it back again next year?
my intuition is that this is LeBron's last year as a Laker, Joe.
Okay, let's say it is. I'll roll with it. My question to you is, what team is going to take on a $50 million contract for LeBron?
No team. No
So
team.
now LeBron is going to opt out and sign a minimum contract somewhere?
I'm not sure about the minimum, but yeah, he's gonna have to take a huge discount.
My jaded, cynical side of my brain says that's not going to happen. I believe the Lakers will. I believe, if anything, LeBron will pick up his contract and then ask Rob to trade him somewhere. And it's going to have to be whatever this charade is with his kid. It's going to be some kind of song and dance BS, which I don't want to be a part of.
Right, because
Well,
then if he picks and could be right.
look, I want to make it clear, and you probably already know, I don't care about. I enjoy a movie that has a happy ending. I'm not a complete, scumbag. But when it comes to real things, I don't care about soft stories the older I get. I don't care. I don't care about family stuff that's going on with athletes' lives. When I say I don't care, I don't wish any harm. I hope they have a good life. What I mean is I don't care is that it's not my I'm not watching basketball to find out about what's going on in your personal life. And I'm sure that almost every athlete or any famous person would appreciate that. You know why? Because if I see LeBron James with his wife and his kids at the local cheesecake factory, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to walk by and go to my table. That's it. And maybe I'll come on here and go, hey guys, I saw LeBron and his family at the Cheesecake Factory. But I'm not going to go talk to LeBron. I'm not going to go say hi to his kids. I don't care. It's not my business to care about that. That's private. It's private. I am invested in watching a team that I support and the players that are on the team. That's it. I don't care about any of this stuff. I don't care. I don't want to know about what happened 10 years ago when you were coming up. I don't care. I'm sorry if it sounds insensitive, but I don't. I don't. I don't. The older I get, I don't care about nostalgia. It creeps in every now and then when I think about when I was in high school, blah, blah, blah. But I quickly get over it. I already been there. I already did it. Why would I think about it? I can't go back. Who cares? Care about now. I care about now. The only thing I dread from the past is usually like finals losses and Super Bowl losses, like stupid crap like that, because it involves losing. And I'm a freaking psycho with that crap. I hate freaking losing. It bothers me. That's the only thing that bothers me with losing. Something about losing. Good stuff. Hey man, I did it. What can I do now? There's nothing else I can do. So I'm curious if they don't make the playoffs. I'm really curious on what LeBron is going to do the second the season's over. Is he going to go to Rob and say, Rob, I can't do this again next year. Is there any way we can get a trade going? Now, that's step one. Step two is what happens to AD. Now, what I'd like is I'd like them to keep AD and put some guys around him. That's what I'm hoping for. He still has 3 and 4 years left.
Isn't that the original sin now, Joe, in the Garden of Eden, that you built this team around a 39-year-old aging superstar who you thought was 29 when you should have been building it around the defensive anchor that is Anthony Davis. I think that's kind of the apple in the Garden of Eden with Pelinka and the Bucks ownership.
Well, I think based off what you just said, I believe by accident they did build a team around an AD centric anchor when they had Caruso, KCP, Kuzma developed a defensive game. They did, and they screwed it up because AD got hurt in 2021, and they panicked because some other team was getting some other guy.
Joe, there was another team that panicked like that too. And I'll give you a hint. Squatch.
The watch?
No, I said Squatch.
Squatch?
Yeah. So the Sonics. So that that 96 team was ready made to go to 3 out of the next 4 finals, I thought. You had an in his prime Gary Payton. You had Hershey Hawkins. You had Nate McMillan. You had a ready-made championship roster. Now, you didn't get it done in the finals. And what did you do? You panicked. Wally Walker panicked, and he signed Jim McIlvaine. Now, all due respect to Jim, this isn't on him. They gave him the money. He took the money, Joe. But it's true. The Bulls really killed the Sonics inside in that series. It wasn't really on the perimeter. They got beaten down low. And like you said, they pulled a Lakers. They panicked and they took a hard left when they should have kept on the same road they were on, because the pathway was pretty clear if you didn't panic. And like you said, Joe, you've said this before. You can make a mistake in life. Everybody does. But you got to move on from it. Can't keep trying to make up for that mistake, right? Because it just compounds an already made problem and it snowballs. And we dealt with an avalanche.
The Niners were the 49ers this last year when they finally just cut loose at Trey Lance. That's a good piece of advice, in that they got out of that mode where they spent so much assets to get him. They're like, look, this guy's not going to work. It's just cut our losses. Where the Lakers made a mistake in terms of their panic is they thought, and LeBron has to take some fault here too, by the way. And this is why, folks, this is why all those problems with Jerry Krause and the Bulls and all that stuff, this is why it's like the artist versus the businessman. There's always going to be some kind of a rift in between. The artist never understands the business side of things typically, because they're so focused on what they're trying to do.
Right, Joe, because Jordan at one point insisted that Jerry Krause trade Scottie Pippen for Sean Kemp. He's like, no, I'm not trading Scottie. I'm not.
And that's a good subject to get to, considering what happened the other day with Jerry Krause's widow. Jerry Krause, because in life, and you've heard me say this a few times, in life, sometimes both parties can be right and both can be wrong. And sometimes one party can be right half the time and then wrong later. That's life. And that's why people drink. That's why people get depressed. That's why people end relationships when they shouldn't, because not everything is black and white. So let's look at Jerry Krause as an example. Jerry Krause has a phenomenal run between 1987 to, let's say, 1996. Pretty darn good run for about 10 years, which isn't too bad for a GM. A 10-year run is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And
You could put it right up against our box,
yeah,
56, 66.
For those of you who don't know the history, the Seattle Supersonics drafted Scottie Pippen, and Jerry Krause had the GM mind to know that Olden Polynice wasn't likely going to be the guy, and traded Olden Polynice with a package of somebody else for Scottie Pippen and basically fleeced Seattle. And Scottie came from a small school called Central Arkansas. At that time, it might have been easy for people now to know, but back then, no one knew he was going to be what he was. And then you draft Horace Grant, and then you trade Charles Oakley. And at that time, positions mattered. You needed a center, a power forward, a small forward, a scoring guard, and a point guard. So they needed to trade Charles Oakley for a center. The Bulls needed a center, and they got him. And that's Jerry Krause creating this. And the best decision he ever made was firing Doug Collins and hiring Phil Jackson. Now, fast forward after that, the Bulls win a championship, and just like Jerry Jones, Krause develops this inferiority complex. Everybody loves Jordan. Everybody loves Phil. And here's this little fat guy who kind of put the ingredients together, and no one gives a crap. And what does he do? he starts hinting about, ooh, I really like Dan Marley. Ooh, I really like Tony Kukoc. Pissing off the greatest player the sport has ever seen. Why? All for what? To do what? What credit do you want? What's with the pats on the back? What is that going to do in the end? The championship isn't enough. Your name being on the the yearbook isn't enough. How about if you had just like, did you ever hear Jerry West whine and cry like that? No. And what is Jerry West known as? The greatest executive in sports history for a lot of people. Let the accolade, let the winning dictate your legacy and watch what it does. But those who with small minds and small brains, whatever, they'll out themselves at some point. We have one right now in Dallas. Still doesn't get it. And he never will. He will never get it.
There's a reason
20,
why they say big mouth, little brain, Joe.
28 years, and they're still waiting to get to an NFC championship game. All that money, all that net worth for what? Are you going to be able to take that money with you, Jerry, when you're dead in about 10 years, if you last that long? What was it for at the end? So that people in Dallas, people in New York pat you on the back? They would have patted you on the back. They
Get your
were patting.
weasel greased on that $400 million yacht.
Never ends. The ego, the inferiority complex, the stupidness of human beings. It just amazes me how they can completely sabotage their good fortune because there's just a couple of strangers that they want telling them how good they are. I never could understand that. Why would anyone give two craps about what strangers think about you? Why? You should care about what your family thinks. You should care about what the people that you're working with think. Why do you care about what strangers think? It's a waste of your life. It's a waste of time. So we've delved into how many things now? We've gone through a few things, and it was by request. People like the meandering through all these subject lines, but at the end, guys, I feel like I'm at a funeral or I'm going to a funeral soon because I think the Lakers are about to hit the casket. I really, really do. I think even if they win on Sunday, I don't believe they're going to beat the Clippers next Tuesday, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get waxed by Chicago. And if that indeed is the way it goes, they're going to go on that road trip with no momentum and just no energy to try to get through what's going on here. And we may be seeing here in the next 2 weeks where the Lakers are going to go. So we're going to have to be very, very, very alert and very inventive with the entertainment. And we're going to have to bring some original and maybe some good information that's sort of going in and out of the Laker world, just so that
Because right
people
now
are.
we're circling the drain.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely that. So Sean says, nah, I wish you'd quit trashing my Cowboys. It's been a long 28 years, which is where you'll be at the end of Tomlin's next contract.
Joe,
Uh,
do you remember? Do you remember what? So we're both, me and Joe are both fans of the show Entourage, and our favorite character is Ari Gold. And Ari's got a. I quote him every once in a while, Joe, because I don't want to be too heavy handed with him because he seemed to say the right thing at the right time to get through to these kids who got their own ideas of what success is, right? And in one scene, he talks about how Eric's just going on, and he says, Nobody's happy in this town except the losers. I'm miserable. That's why I'm rich. It's true. Like you said, you hate losing. You hate losing more than you love winning. That's a winner's mentality. It is. And I'm not just saying it to blow smoke up your butt. I'm saying it because it's true.
There's a scene in Winning Time when Red Auerbach is talking to Jerry Buss, Dr. Buss, about how it doesn't make him happy when he wins. It makes him a miserable bastard. And I think back at projects you've completed, or like today, I played 18 holes of golf today. And one of my constituents kind of has forced me to go play 18 holes. I get so focused on work that I don't want to think about anything like getting on a course and having to be away from the phone or work, which is completely stupid because I love playing golf. So I'm playing today. And not playing bad, considering haven't been playing for a while. I played twice in the last like couple of years. But man, I'm on the 18th hole and I'm about 252 feet yards away from the hole. And I have my best drive of the day. I mean, this sucker was straight and I almost hit. It was a municipal type course. So I got close to getting onto the green on one shot, Happy Gilmore style. And it was dead center too. I was so freaking happy. So I get there and I'm like, do I got a shot at an eagle here if I just chip it a little bit? Long story short, I bogey the mother freaking hole. And I'm pissed. Had a pretty good game, pretty good day, especially the last like 4 holes. I was pretty much getting all those par threes. I was getting them on the green. And I was just missing birdies and just missing the
Short game was
pars.
off.
Yeah, the short game was off. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I get that drive done and I'm going, all right, I'm going to end this day perfect. I'm going to get at least a birdie here. Man, I get a freaking bogey and I'm walking towards the cart and I literally threw the ball at the cart. And my buddy's like, Joe, man, we're here to have fun. We're here. I'm like, that. How the hell did I get a 5 on a 4? I was right there. I took the damn drive. It was right there. Should have had at least a birdie. And that's the story of my life. I'm never happy. Ever. When it comes to stuff like that. I mean, I'm happy when I'm having a drink and having good conversation with my friends. You're all my friends. Feeling a little buzz now. But then as soon as I'm off here, I'm thinking about what the hell I'm going to do in the morning. It's like, it's a weird jacked up balance. I'm not miserable. Like, I sleep very well. Matter of fact, I'm almost embarrassed at how well I sleep. I sleep so well, I pass out at night. I don't remember sleeping. I just get up. I could have died. I could have, God knows what could have happened. I don't know. I wake up. Oh, it's the only thing I remember. And half the time I'm on the damn couch because I'm too lazy to go upstairs. So, anyways, that's good, Darren. You gotta let me know when you're in town. I'll take you to some of the local places here in Temecula. But I got out a lot of my anger on the post game, and I wanted to get on to the show here tonight with a little bit of substance. I didn't want to just come here and shout. And it looked like it worked. But maybe I think the drinks helped. You obviously being here helped. Um, I'll end the night on a little bit of positivity here, just so that we're not dreading this. But at least we saw something in 2020. I'm starting to sort of go that route here. At least the AD LeBron era had something, but still at the end, there was a couple things there that probably should have still went through. They should have won at least two with this thing, and there was so many bad decisions in the end, and it's sad in the end. It's sad that they couldn't figure it out. And I know, hindsight's 2020, but it's just like, you know, the Celtics are sitting up top. If the Celtics weren't competing the way they were, I probably would be a little bit better. But the fact that there might be a possibility of them getting 18 before the Lakers, it's really bothered me, especially considering it's taken my lifetime, my 45 years to get to that. Well, technically it was 41. 41 years it took in my lifetime for them to tie this team. I want to be ahead of this team before I die. So, um, with that, Sean, I want to thank you for coming on to the show. We're going to probably make this a regular thing. Everyone that came after the post game, Darren, Eric, Sean, Eric again with the C, all you petting my cat. I want to thank you guys for your interest in the show, the Lakers Nightcap. We're going to continue to do this. We're going to continue to up the production value on this too. I got to get past these damn censors. These freaking guys don't let you do anything. But I want to again thank you all for showing up tonight. I'm going to try to have a show after every game, and I might have some Morning Joe every now and then, since there's been a request there as well. If you guys have any questions, if you have anything that you think of after the show is over, please don't hesitate to email us at LakersFastBreak@yahoo.com. We'll soon have some LFB emails too here in the next probably 6 months, so we can be more official. I do want to get some more gear out there for some of our people. Maybe we'll start making some fun games here, especially with some of my fellow golfers here. And with that, the Lakers lose tonight. Not only lose, get beat up, but we at least had a drink tonight, had some laughs, and gonna probably sleep pretty well here in about 15, 20 minutes. So with that, until next time, we'll see you next time.